I just thought one of the goals and the vision that I have, and I shared it with Mark and team, is how do I help foreign trained and global trained professionals and newcomers and people who are in transition to get to the market quickly? We don't have to do the donkey dump and the go around the merry-go-round, so to speak, right? So one of the things I thought that really stood out for me was have a self-assessment and see what is my personal brand. So I know there's no interaction here, so I'm just going to give you a perspective. That when you step out of your home, the second that you step out, they say you're on watch. And it's so true. The reason is there is a personal brand of yours that comes shining. The personal brand of yours comprises of your persona, the energy, the way you carry yourself, the attire, how you really approach, how you really come across in your interactions, how you really make a mark on other people, how you make a gesture, etc. So it's actually all encompassing. But I think suffice it to say, from a job search perspective, personal branding is something that really stands out as an influencer, right? You go to a networking event and how you carry yourself, the attire, formal attire, how you speak, your hygiene, all of that. I would say your resume and your cover letter, where it needs to be, are an extension of your personal branding, right? So it's important to really understand your personal brand is about what you stand for, your characteristics. Personal branding is about what you want others to perceive about you. Personal branding is also about what is the value that you bring to this universe, right? So, one of the things that I've noticed people that make an impact are people who really rise up to the occasion, be it arriving on time for a networking event, or being it arriving on time for a meeting, or being on time for a coffee meeting, or actually bringing a valuable gift to open the universe and to interact with a coach or a mentor. Anything and everything that you do allows you to be a extension of your personal brand. There are certain facets that one needs to pay attention. One is obviously the attire, how you wear what you wear, and for the appropriate occasion really reflects well on how you are prepared for the occasion. If you're going for a semi formal party, you would dress up for a semi formal party. If you dress up for a networking event, you're expected to be formal or semi formal, but in a manner that's worthy of interacting. You don't stand out like a sour thumb, so to speak, on in jeans and tattered jeans and t-shirts at a networking event, right? So it's very critical to get that piece. The second is when you interact, there is a structure at every networking event. One wants to be seen to be compliant with that structure. The third thing is when you interact physically or through gestures, you have to carry yourself very professionally, whether it's a shaking of hand or whether it's a smiling gesture, just like I'm doing now. It needs to be aligned to your universe, but also aligned to what is appropriate for the occasion. So, ladies and gentlemen, personal branding gets under the carpet. It doesn't really get the importance that it needs to. So I always say, in school, we had a very strict army gentleman as our physical education teacher. And I still remember I keep my nails and my shoes and everything shine because of Colonel Sir Nair. I was the captain of Thimaya House, just to tell you a story. But as a leader, leading the school into athletics, I remember what I feared the most was dressing up for the occasion. So it is very important to know that how you align and get up and rise up to the occasion is half the battle won. Secondly, what are these strategies now that you have really made yourself available? What are your strategies to really, really make an impact in the marketplace? I'm sure everybody who's new to this marketplace or new or in transition, they need to really, really take care that the extension of their personal brand is their resume or the cover letter. Cover letters may seem to be a little redundant, but what is important is that cover letters are utilized today as a tool to market your skills and credentials for a position where you would have an opportunity to market for a role that you may not have experience. It's almost like having a functional resume, right? You have a certain set of solid skills and you would want to link up and to say, hey, have a look at me. I bring the DNA that you required for this job. And this is why the cover letter is actually a tool that really is worthy of mention. Most times, otherwise, cover letters get kind of glanced over, right? But may I submit to people who are very new to the country, unless you go to a job developer workshop or to your settlement agency, and you really pay attention to have your resume and your cover letters re-looked at and realigned to Canadian practices where it is strongly aligned to how resumes are presented, because I worked globally in a number of countries including Dubai, where we make sure that the resumes run for a number of pages. So as in India, and unless you are a CEO or an executive, you have a one pager. So but in Canada, your resume should be maybe a, but what is critical is that you bring to the forefront essential facets of your of your credentials. The summary of your resume is critical. Sets of your resume is critical. Your position and the accountability and highlighting accomplishments allow you to stand out from the crowd. As you know, you come to a very strong, visible talent pool in Toronto or in Vancouver. The talent pool it's got a very broad but a very strong depth and breadth of skills and experience. So you're competing with some of the best. And in organizations that focus on internal hires to progress to the next level, you would find that you're always competing with a preferred candidate, right? But you're willing to compete. The important thing is never let an opportunity pass by. And that's why personal branding becomes important. Never let an opportunity pass by without you having given your best. So it's very critical that you really prepare and spruce up your resume, modified, tailored to a specific job. And I told you, cover letters would come into play when you're looking for marketing your skills and experience for a role that you may not have performed, or you want to venture into a new role. Mostly, these are what we're looking for. Your resume as a talent acquisition professional, since we take about 7 seconds to quickly look at a resume, what perks the interest of a talent acquisition professional is how have you presented your resume? Are the T's crossed and the I's dotted? Is your resume spaced in a manner that is easy to read? It doesn't look crowded. Are you highlighting by the word? Are you highlighting in the manner of presentations of your words? And so I would say about 80% of your first page really is the standout page. Just make sure you don't crowd it, but also make sure you got credible information as an influencer when a recruiter looks it through Boolean search or a hiring manager looks at it, right? So it's your essentially your current job, your qualifications, your brief summary, and also about critical skills, right? And then you move on. When the first page gets interesting, then you move on to a second page, right? When the second page gets interesting, you go to the third page. I would say when it comes to extracurriculars, or a guy like me who's a coach as well and has some specializations in teaching and learning. I've taught in business schools in Sheridan and Humber. I would not have to have it highlighted on the first page because I'm not looking at a teaching career in a bank. I would look for opportunities of human resources, and I would like to have that coaching, mentoring, assessment, some of these specialized skills in the last page, right, where it'll be certifications or additional skills. The third aspect of it is you have to have a business card. For me, I work at a Starbucks, or I network at Second Cup, or I network in my car, or I network in the community. I always ensure that I have a business card with me. People remember faces, but when you have a business card, you actually are extending a shake hand. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I submit humbly, if you do not want every opportunity to pass by without having made the impact, your business card is that bridge. Your business card should actually, really, I'm just going to pick up my business card, which is my HR consulting business card. Your business card, because I don't want to show my CIBC card, my HR consulting work is a very light colored. I don't know if you can see this. It's a very light colored card, very simple. You don't need your address on a card. You just need your name. It says my MBA and it says CHRL. It should be RL now because I'm a certified human resources leader. It says human resources partner and HR consultant. What it comprises on the first part of the card is very simply my mobile cell number, my email, and my LinkedIn. People don't need to know that you live in Toronto. People don't need to know that you live in Mississauga. People don't need to know your postal code. People don't need to know that you actually live in a close to Muskoka. So I got a question from Megan here. Is LinkedIn your new business card? I would not say in exclusivity that LinkedIn is a business card because LinkedIn has got lots of information. A business card is the shortest snapshot form of your credentials. So, what I noticed, ladies and gentlemen, you look at the back of my card, it details 6 or 7 critical areas where I can add value. I use this card for my consulting career, right? So, I could do that. You could just have 4 areas. It says here recruitment and selection. It will change now to talent acquisition. It says organizational development. I may have done a few OD related work, right? And performance management, talent management, compensation, job analysis. I'm trained by Hay methodology and by point factor methodology on job analysis and job evaluation. So I wanted to make sure that I do know certain skill and structure and science behind job evaluation. Having a business card is not redundant. It is actually a shake hand, which allows you to really leave a mark on the hiring manager or a networker or the other person. These cards get taken out from your wallet or from your diary or from your pack, your office pack. And these cards are distributed and kept right in front of a executive or a recruiter's desk. It is during times when you're searching and then you want to recall, hey, I was at the Toronto Jobs Networking event in person, say hypothetically, at 2:25 at 3:13 p.m. and I met Denise. Oh wow, where is her card? I remember the bob-haired girl, lady, Denise. Or I met Vinayak. I remember he had a check shirt. What does he do? they go back to the drawing board to really find out who you are. So if you just had a plain card and you did not have anything behind, it's okay. But if you really want a good recall, you want to highlight to them what your discipline or your area of specialization is. So Denise, I'm using your name. Maybe I'll move on to Gaushalya, Kotai, and I meet Gaushalya. Nice name. Oh yeah, when I met Gaushalya, I actually chatted up to find out what's the meaning of that name. And I found out whatever. But the important thing is, it's a good recall. And there was something about Gaushalya that impressed me. He's got a niche about working on specific projects using certain tool, maybe waterfall, right? And I then look for people that are going to be helpful in connecting that bridge just because you gave me this card. So, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress enough that why a business card is important. I always have it. Anytime I want to talk about CIBC and franchise potential clients, I tell them, hey, oh, that's good to know. My name is Danny. I work with CIBC. I'm on the HR side, but I'm a business guy too. So if any way, you're with Scotia, right? If is there any way that you're not too happy and you think there's an opportunity for CIBC, I would like to get my leaders and my team involved in franchising you, to taking care of you. That's it. So Megan and people who have asked me about LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a little more detailed. It cannot be a business card, right? But how things are presented on LinkedIn does have an impact. So I'm moving from handshake, physical handshake and virtual handshakes to now LinkedIn. LinkedIn is and will continue to be a fantastic opportunity to really connect with professionals. Its algorithms and its structure and the way it is set up allows you first level, first degree of connectivity, leading into second degree of connectivity, leading into third degree of connectivity. So it is important that your LinkedIn profile, at least to start with, must have a face to the conversation. Number two, your LinkedIn should be a brief highlighted version of your resume. It should have the components that will appeal to the universe on LinkedIn. It should really look after people that are looking for people like yourselves and would like to be the connector. So that's the social media part of it. Just make sure that your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted in terms of the content there. There are various ways of approaching and presenting your credentials, right? One could be very functional, one could be very structured as per like you have it on a resume. Okay. Thirdly, now that you've taken care of the social part of it, the third aspect would be that you need to really reach out to recruiting folks, not necessarily in corporate recruiters or talent acquisition professionals like me. Google in areas where you live, say Markham, say Toronto, say Japan, say Brampton, or say Etobicoke, or say Kitchener, and you say top recruiting companies in this area, and you'll find 5 to 6 to 8 to maybe 12. What you need to do is try and get a quick view of what is their core focus of recruiting and how can my resume be uploaded so that should a recruiter at a future date or even now or in the near future look for an opportunity, they would be having a resume on hand. So it's very important to have that door of conversation open. Third, when you connect with professionals on LinkedIn, you may want to really relate with one or two aspects about their profile that perks your curiosity. That should be your introduction to say why you would like a chat with Denise, or why you would like a chat with Omer, or why you would like a chat with Cesar or Charlene. Hey, Charlene, trust you're doing well. I see that you worked in Workday, and that is something that appeals to me because I have worked on different ATSs, right? Or Mohammed, I see that you worked with Agile, and that resonates with me. Maybe we could connect virtually for a coffee. So when you do that introduction, it is very important that you live up to that expectation. Do not ask for a job on LinkedIn. Do not come across that you're very needy. The power of networking is not essentially the outcome of a job, though I know most of you are looking, you need a job. But that's not why we network. We network to establish relationships. We network to genuinely get to care and get to know other people. And we genuinely want to increase our bandwidth of what I call is social capital. Just like in accounting and finance, you call it capital, we have something called the social capital. Your social capital will stand you in good stead when you interface with a number of people across nations, across the world. And LinkedIn is just a tool, a vehicle that will allow you to do that. Fourth, when you are having an interview opportunity, I called it the gold star meeting. You will never ever get that opportunity again if you squander it. So make sure that one, you research the company, you know enough about the role. The third is you're articulating and tailoring your credentials and your experience, not all your experience, just the experience suited to that role, so that the recruiter or the hiring manager has the perspective that your alignment to this role is good and you should move to the next level. You will have opportunities where they may want to know additional things about you. You can showcase that, right? The fourth important thing is that after every interaction, whether it's on social media or in person or even with a recruiter, it is must that you stand out by having a sense of gratitude. Say thank you for the time you made to speak with me today. Thank you for having a recruiter. Thank you for having made the time to have talked to me about the role and explain to me in so much detail. I appreciate and I look forward to stay connected with you and hear about the next steps. Hiring manager, it was great chatting up with you. You can actually leave out a few things from your conversation to say, hey, by the way, it was amazing to see, CIBC has got into digital projects such as this. And I really bring value to that area. So I look forward to having furthering our conversation. Things like that, right? But a thank you is the occasion. But how you say it is to be precise. Always make sure that you say things in a very precise. It needs discipline. I used to be a very verbose guy, but I'm learning, training my tongue, training my delivery, training my disposition to make sure that I come across precise and concise and delivering to the outcome that I want out of all my interactions, right? The fourth thing is whether you get a job, you land or not, your energy, your perspectives, and how you share about that experience should always be so positive that it'll have an influence on people in and around you. Just seeing who you are and how you held that, that experience of not having made it to a job allows some people in that network to say, hey, this guy has a sense of gratitude. He's sharing. He didn't make the job. No regrets, but he's moving forward. That's the kind of people I'd like in my team. So I'm going to refer him to Mark Balesh. I'm going to refer him to Vinayak Deshpande. I'm going to refer him to Cesar. I'm going to refer him to Sandeep. That's how you expand the power of networking, right? I want to just give you one or two pearls of wisdom that I inherently did not have it in my system, but I incorporated that to ensure that going forward, I will not miss out on interview opportunities and I will not squander future opportunities. As soon as you finish an interview, I call it the debrief time. I call it the time to have a date with yourself, not with anybody else. You get into a room, you get into a coffee place, not in a very crowded place, go into a corner, or you get into your car, get home, shut yourself, and start evaluating. When I walked into CIBC, I met Denny George. How was that experience when I shook hands? What was my disposition? What was my energy? Did I squander? Did I make a mistake? Every bit you assess and you keep scoring yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Then the opening, right? So Denny asked me, "Hey, Mark, hey, Umair, could you tell me something about yourself?" And what did I say? And when you take down that question and you respond in bullets about how you responded, it'll become very obvious to you that you could have done better. 9 out of 10 people feel that when they go through that assessment journey, that there is so much more they could have bettered themselves. See, you're always competing with yourself. Though you're competing with all others, you're always competing with yourself to better yourself, to take your level of performance to the next and to the next and to that's called the how do you improve the A game. So once you did that journey, it may cost you just half an hour, but trust me, you trust me. Again, what I'm saying, it comes with a lot of experience. If you don't capture all the questions and the interview process and how you fared, you would know that this particular experience would actually disappear like thin air in seconds. What I'm saying is, you would not even remember any questions if a day passes by and you've not really captured it. That's how quickly, because of noise and gremlin and engaging in different things, your mind lets off the guard and you don't really retain. So, may I suggest again, when you have an interview, after the interview, if you can, just stay away from making a call or taking any calls. First thing, as soon as possible. Because the more you get calls and have conversations, you'll miss out on that exposure, that experience, that experiential learning. From the time I walked into the time I shook hands to say goodbye, and I got into my car or the bus to get home after the interview, if you really don't capture it, you would see there's no growth and learning in interviewing. So, ladies and gentlemen, looks like I may be off time, but I talked just to kind of recap. I talked about personal branding as an extension of your human endeavor, your persona, your extension of yourself, your character, how you come across, the attire, the imagery, the perception, everything that in and around you, including the elevator speech, is all about your personal branding. The second aspect is how do you interface on the social media channels? Third is how do you liaise with recruiters and their firms to look at opportunities where you can make a success of it? Then how do you apply to roles where if you're given an interview opportunity, how do you prepare? I can't get into interviewing techniques because it's a very short period of time, but I'm just giving you just a high level that you really, it's better to over prepare than under prepare. And how post the interview, you make an assessment of how you fared because you're competing with yourself. As important as it is to make an assessment, it's very important to have a sense of gratitude to people who have made the time. You, out of maybe 100 people, maybe just 12 people got an opportunity to be interviewed. And you're fortunate, but you should also have a sense of gratitude to people who took the time to meet up with you. They could have settled down with an internal candidate or an easier choice. but they opted to go through the process and to make sure there was a science and there was a structure to the selection process. So you got to do that, right? So that pretty much sums my job switch strategy in terms of just quick highlights in terms of how do you get to market quickly, right? It's very, very important that you do that. I'm happy to take any questions. I don't know how I can manage this part, uh, but please connect with me on LinkedIn. My network is open, but like I said to everybody, the moment I open my network to you, don't hammer me with your resume. I manage 3 lines of business for CIBC. The bank allows me to interface with the external world, but I have to be committed to bring the biggest value to my VPs and directors and their lines of business. Whatever I do to help out people and to make the time for coaching and be available in forums like this is an extension of my brand. It's also a bonus that I'm offering to the universe to share my experience. So kindly abstain, not just for me. You will have people who will not connect back with you again, especially talent managers and recruiters, if they find that you're becoming overwhelming on their face, asking them to share their resume and their profile to somebody. That's not their job. That's not their job. They are talent advisors and they're talent partners for the lines of business, and they're always on LinkedIn sourcing and looking for talent, headhunting talent, right? So, may I just submit, you got to be very, very careful as to why you should really take care of things when you're interacting over the social media. Uh, I don't know if I can take on some questions. Hidden network, Charlene is asking. I'm a consumer from, thank you, Cesar, for being a client of CIBC. How do you find? Now, the hidden network is a network which is relevant and in some ways not relevant. Are you going to go after it? No, it happens naturally. You meet somebody who happens to know somebody who happens to know somebody in the organization where they're not advertising a position externally. But having interacted with you and you having made the mark and the influence, they may turn around to you and say, hey, actually, there's a position here that I know. Why didn't you pass on your resume? It's a it's a combination of chance, opportunity, and timing. Nobody advertises their hidden network. And today in COVID situations, there's no hidden network. A lot of people are not hiring because their onboarding processes and their candidate experience can be tainted if they really hire just haphazardly without structure. And a lot of the organizations are struggling with the fact that since we cannot meet in person, we are unable to really create the wow, to welcome, and to really have the onboarding and the orientations, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of pieces because of COVID and the situation that we've been forced to is missing. So, Charlene, you don't have to worry about the hidden market. Just take care of the not so hidden market and the networking and how you carry yourself. Have a business card, please, so that at every point I can share in closing a good story. I was standing in the COVID line in Walmart, but always when I step out of the house, because I talk about personal branding, you would never catch me with a tattered jeans or in my PJs or in my flip flops. Never. So I happened to be standing in a line with a decent jean and a t-shirt and a mask, and just turned around and just smiled at the gentleman next to me. And he would not have noticed me, but when he saw that, seems to be a decent guy, and he said hello. And that hello led to us having a conversation. He was actually the general manager of Audi Automotive. So I didn't have to market CIBC or anything. Just happened to be in a conversation that he came to know I was a talent advisor for the bank, and he was curious about CIBC. And I offered to say, hey, Mr. So and so, if there is any opportunity where we can take care of something that may be missing in your banking relationship, see, we're competing with other banks. but we don't have to overstep. We've got to be maintaining a professional dictum, professional perspective. So all I'm telling him is, Mr. So and so, if there's an opportunity to franchise you and take care of you where you think there is a gap and you're not happy with, here's my card. Talk to me. I have leaders and team members who will do a fabulous job. And that's how he gave us a chance, and we took care of him. He moved all his money and accounts to CIBC. And that's the case with McDonald's, Second Cup, CIBC, Walmart, Costco. People make people matter. Leaders make things matter. You are the leader of your universe. So if you want to matter and make it count and be the influencer, may I suggest, if you take away one or two things from what I've shared today and work with it, that would be fantastic.